presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Darrell Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.net.
Entitled The Sacred Bonds of Marriage. And tonight we're going to focus in on two characteristics that we as Muslims are encouraged to develop and incorporate into our Islamic personality, and that is sympathy and empathy. And I speak about these two characteristics a lot. And today I'm going to speak about why they are important in the Islamic home, why it's important to have sympathy and empathy within the family. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. And this class, there's also a book for this class too. This class is based on the book written by one of my students. I have a student, his name is Brother Darrell Kirk, and that's a picture of him. This book can be purchased on Amazon. It's a trilogy. He's written a trilogy on marriage. This is the second of the trilogy, entitled Sacred Abode. And this book speaks about establishing the Muslim home, how to go about establishing the Muslim home. The first of this trilogy is called Sacred Abode, Sacred Bonds. Sacred Bonds focuses in on the rules of marriage, how as Muslims, how Allah has set the guidance and the guidelines and laws and rules for us as to what constitutes a valid marriage in Islam. Well, this is the second of the series, which speaks about the hard part of marriage, which is establishing the Muslim home. And so tonight we're going to cover chapter 8 of the book. And chapter 8 of the book addresses the role of empathy and sympathy within the family and within the Islamic home. And we have to remember and understand as Muslims that there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. And I encourage Muslims to look up the meaning of certain English terms in the dictionary. For example, empathy. Empathy is an emotional response, but it doesn't have the same meaning as sympathy. Empathy entails having the ability to understand and share another person's feelings. It's a deeper, more immersive emotional response that requires putting yourself in the shoes of someone else and genuinely experiencing their emotional state. So if you see another person experiencing grief over something, the grief over losing their child, you have to put yourself in their shoes. Imagine that it was you who has lost your child. Then you're able to better understand what that person's going through. So empathy is a more immersive or a more intense emotion, a more intense emotional experience than sympathy is. And empathy involves three key components: Number one, it involves understanding another person's thoughts and feelings. Number two, it entails feeling what another person is feeling. And number three, it entails having a desire to help based on that understanding that you have of that person's thoughts, feelings. So empathy is different than sympathy. It's more intense. And we need to practice empathy a little bit more as Muslims. And for those of us who do learn to empathize, it will in turn help to strengthen our relationships, both in the home and outside the home. It'll deepen our connections between our family members by fostering a sense of shared experience and understanding. It'll also help to create an environment where each one of us within the family can feel truly understood and supported. Because you imagine yourself in my situation, you see what it feels like to be bullied. So now you can give me a concrete way to handle being bullied at school because you've imagined that you were in my shoes. Because I put myself in your shoes, I can imagine how when you come home from work, you don't want to come home to a bunch of kids who are arguing and fighting all the time when you were at work dealing with coworkers who were constantly bickering and fighting. So empathy can deepen our connections within the family and bring more peace within it. Also, empathy can impact our family by bringing healing and support as well. It allows the helper to provide meaningful support and comfort in situations where someone is experiencing emotional distress. And in turn, this can lead to more effective emotional healing. Your heart's been broken. Someone that you trusted, that you truly trusted, betrayed you. Okay, because your mother was able to put herself in your shoes and she was able to feel the pain as a result that you are experiencing. Now she's able to provide much more meaningful support to you. And she's able to comfort you better than she's been able to comfort you before. So empathy is a great tool for us to use in supporting each other within the family. And also empathy betters our communications within the family as well, because it ensures that our interactions are grounded in understanding and mutual respect. It helps to resolve the conflicts we have by acknowledging and addressing the emotional needs of each other. You put yourself in my shoes, so you know what my emotional needs are. I need love. I don't need all that advice. I need maybe a little bit of advice, but I need that advice to be followed with love, with concern, with sugar. Because maybe I've spent my entire life being advised. I've had very little love. Okay, so again, it enhances our abilities to communicate with each other. Okay, so we have to really work on our empathy skills. Very few of us are able to empathize. And so that brings us to a question. What are some appropriate situations that may call for empathy? Well, counseling and therapy, professionals, counseling professionals, professional therapists, they use empathy to connect with their clients and to understand their experiences deeply. Also, conflict resolution. Empathy is crucial in resolving disputes. How can we resolve our arguments? How can we resolve our disagreements if we don't use empathy? Empathy helps individuals to understand each other's perspectives and emotions. And for a husband and wife, it can't just be one person. Both of you are going to have to empathize. Don't expect me as a woman to empathize for you. You got to empathize with me too. You want me to put myself in your shoes. Okay, I'll do that. But you got to put yourself in my shoes too. It's got to come, and both of us have to do this if we really want this marriage to work. Okay? Also, another situation that requires empathy is supportive roles, because empathy helps to understand the needs and emotions of those who are being supported in roles such as caregiving and teaching. How can I be a teacher? How can I be a good teacher if I don't put myself in the shoes of my students? I have to know, how my students are thinking, how my students are feeling, what my students want, what my students need, when to push them and how far to take them. Okay? So, empathy is very, very crucial and very, very important, guys, in our families and outside of our families too. But we're focusing in on developing and establishing the Muslim family. So now let's talk about sympathy and how it differs. First of all, what does it mean to have sympathy? Sympathy is different in meaning. Sympathy entails feeling pity or sorry for someone else's misfortune. Now, this is something that we Muslims do easily. It's easy to feel sorry for a person. It's harder to put yourself in the shoes of a person. Okay? Our personal jinn will push us to feel sorry for a person. Because if you feel sorry for a person, you're not thinking in a way of balance. If you feel sorry for a person, the lines become blurred and you can easily transgress the rules and the limitations of Allah. So we have to be careful of sympathy. Okay? A lot of people sympathize thinking that they're doing something good. In reality, they're not. Okay? Sympathy entails feeling pity. And it means understanding that someone is suffering and you want to offer comfort without sharing the same emotional experience. Sympathy acknowledges the situation and expresses concern or care more detachedly. You're detaching yourself, whereas with empathy, you're putting yourself in that situation. You're able to think a little more. Okay, when you empathize, you're looking at both sides, whereas sympathizing can be one-sided. That's the difference. Okay? Sympathy can provide reassurance. Sympathy can provide comfort. Sympathy lets the affected person know that they're not alone and that others do care about their well-being. Sympathy does offer support, and it can motivate supportive actions by expressing concern and offering help or assistance to the person in need. And since sympathy does not require sharing the emotional experience, it can be helpful in situations where maintaining emotional boundaries is necessary. So, what are some appropriate situations for sympathy? Well, sympathy is appropriate in casual acquaintances. When a deeper emotional connection is not established or required, that's when sympathy can offer appropriate support without overstepping personal boundaries. But if it's a deep emotional connection, empathy is better, because you have to think out the situation. You have to weigh the pros and cons. But if it's a casual acquaintance, a casual relationship that's not that close to you, that's not closely involved, you can use a little bit of sympathy. With this situation that's going on in Gaza, it should not entail sympathy. Gaza does not require pity. We should not show pity towards the Muslims around the world that are suffering. No, that's empathy, because this is a deep emotional connection. We are like one body. When one Muslim hurts, it affects all of us as a nation. So none of us should use sympathy. All of us should be using empathy in regards to what's happening to us as a nation. But if it was something casual that doesn't really entail us, you can use sympathy then. Also, in professional settings, in professional environments where emotional distancing, el-bara is necessary, then we can use sympathy again too, because it allows for expressing appropriate care without becoming overly involved. For example, we hear about LGBTQ, a person who was LGBTQ being beat up. Somebody attacked an LGBTQ person. Okay, we can use sympathy. I can sympathize for that person. Okay, I can sympathize for that person, because that person should not have been beaten up just because he's LGBTQ. That was unjust. His rights was violated. So, but that still don't take away the fact that being LGBTQ is bad. LGBTQ is bad. LGBTQ is dirty. But the person still shouldn't have been bullied because of that. So in professional settings or environments where emotional distance is required, that's when we do sympathy. El-bara. When it comes to el-wala, when it comes to allegiance, we use empathy. When it comes to el-bara, we use sympathy. Keep that in mind. Also, public expressions of support. That's sympathy. Sympathy is often used in public or broad expressions of support, such as offering condolences in a formal setting. The Pope died. Well, I'll send condolences to his family. I'm the ruler of a Muslim country. I want to send condolences to the family of the Pope. That's sympathy. El Barra. But do I empathize? No, because my allegiance is not to that. All right? And in regards to the Ummah, sympathy is fitting when we express concern for our brothers and sisters. Okay? But it's not fitting when we're in expressing concern for the non-Muslims. Everybody understand? So the best way to summarize when is it appropriate to show sympathy and empathy? We show sympathy only to non-Muslims from a distance. We show empathy and sympathy to Muslims as part of our allegiance. When do we show empathy to non-Muslims? The same as we do with sympathy, from a distance. Does everybody understand that? Again, everything we do, I hope you guys see that as Muslims, I tell you all the time, everything begins with and ends with Tawheed.